This is Morgan Hazelwood, back again with more writing tips and writerly musings. Today, I'm here to share with you 3 things to consider before fixing your manuscript. How do you please everyone with your writing? Spoiler alert, you can't. Here I am back in the query trenches, alternately deciding that this is the agent for me and no agent will love me, ever. So while I'm sorting through the agent profiles, trying to decide who might swipe right back at me, right's the one where they're interested? I don't know these swipe things. I see agents posting about what they don't want. And there's this knee-jerk reaction when I recognize a trope from my writing, this feeling of, oh, but I can fix it and then you'll want my manuscript. Especially when you see so much of your story in what they are asking for. But before you go and change your entire manuscript just to suit this one agent, you need to stop and consider 3 things. First, are there other agents out there specifically looking for this trope? If they are, well, there you go. Just because one agent poo-pooed your trope that you played with in your story didn't mean that every agent out there was shying away from it. Clearly, that agent just wasn't a good match for this manuscript. I know, it can be hard to walk away from an agent that in all other ways seems ideal. You see them asking for X and Y, both of which your story does amazingly, and then you hit that hard pass if the manuscript does Z. Insert screeching to a halt sound clip and maybe a sad trombone. It's hard to stop yourself from justifying why you should send it anyway. I have everything they're looking for. Yes, but if you have something in your manuscript that will make them auto-reject you, why set yourself up for failure? You've heard the dating analogy. Everything else might be good, but if my date is looking for someone who cooks, we're just not going to be a good fit. I mean, I can heat up the oven and I can make fudge. That's got to count for something. But you should be querying people who want what you have to offer without that deal breaker. Second thing to consider is not wanting that trope a trend. Agents are people and no 2 people ever want the same thing, which means all agents have different wants and needs. If one agent talks about not wanting a specific trope, it can be hard not to start reading into what the other agents are saying, and you start convincing yourself that other agents were obliquely referencing that trope and that no one will ever want your novel and, oh, wait, maybe that's just me? But every story has its tropes. I mean, all stories are full of tropes. That's what they do. It's how you play with them, subvert them, or make them shine that makes your story unique. Don't immediately assume that your story is broken because it has a trope people don't want. Look around at other agents, at other agencies. Look at what the editors are looking for and look if there's a pattern. If and only if you find a pattern of agents and editors saying specifically that they do not want this particular trope, that's when you might consider looking at your manuscript. But before you touch it, there's one final consideration. How well integrated into your story is this trope? Just because the publishing world isn't in the mood for your story right now doesn't mean the problem's with your story. You need to think long and hard about removing a trope. Start by asking yourself the following questions. 1, does it make sense for your story? Will your story logic fall apart without the trope? 2, how will removing this trope affect your characters? How much of their background, their personalities, their goals are influenced by this trope? 3rd, will your story be worse off by taking it out? Does it add complexity and flavor to your world. And finally, how well did you write the trope? Maybe you've gotten to the heart of the trope and made it real and fully three-dimensional, and it just shines. Maybe you've subverted the trope in unexpected but absolutely fascinating ways. And maybe you've just played with the trope in fun and exciting ways. Not all stories have to be serious. People enjoy fun books too. If you've taken the trope and made it yours, leave it be. So what happens if you do leave it in and the trope causes the industry to reject it? Well, you've got two options. First, maybe your story ends up becoming a practice book. I know it feels like you've just wasted this huge amount of your life, maybe years, but it's not a waste of time. You were learning and getting better at writing. No one tells the musician who practices their scales every day from the first time they pick up the instrument until they're warming up before the concert in like the big theater. Nobody tells the musician that practicing their scales was a waste of time. No writing is a waste. Second option, maybe you just need to wait for trends to change. Shelve this project for 6 months or 6 years, and then send it out to agents again. Trends change as often as the wind, and nobody knows what the next trend is going to be. So, one final message. Don't give up hope before you query. It could be that your take on this trope is just what the industry has been waiting for.